Okay, so here we are set up for our Queen's Birthday weekend game of the US Civil War, and Patrick's playing the Union. And we've just set up for the campaign game, and we feel like we're a lot better equipped to play the game without making too many rules mistakes this time. And Patrick's just going to tell us now exactly what his strategy is and how he's going to deal with me. He's probably not, is he?
I'm just going to cut right through the Mississippi and divide the Confederates. So she'll be all over by 1862, I think.
Okay, so he's laid down the gauntlet, and so we'll give you some updates.
When to go now? Okay. So we've just finished the first turn of the US Civil War. The action has all really been around the east here, with Johnson making a foray into Pennsylvania and capturing Harrisburg, the capital of, well, some kind of state capital. And there's been a bit of action in West Virginia here, with some Union capture of Charleston and Grafton, and an offensive over here in Missouri with Curtis moving down towards Springfield. But the build-up of armies here is pretty significant, and the Confederates have been doing quite well, actually.
So what's Washington got in the way of strength at the moment?
A lot. I think it was something like 18. So it's 12, 15, 18. Yep.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the state of play at the end of summer 1861, or the first turn, I should say. Situation at the end of turn 2. So this is the end of summer.
Right, so over here in the east, a combination of Patterson and Burnside outflanked Johnston and sent him with his tail between his legs back to Richmond. So the force in Harrisburg got attritioned, and even though, was it Longstreet came in to try to rescue them? Beauregard and Stewart came in to rescue them, but came up against Patterson and lost. Nothing really over here in this theatre. And over here, the battle for Springfield continues. It's been a struggle, no success for the Union. And other than that, there's been a few amphibious assaults taking some ocean ports in the Gulf of Mexico and in that Atlantic Ocean. That's it.
Yep. Okay, so that's the end of summer 1861. Okay, so we've just finished turn 3, got ready for turn 4. But so here's a situation report on what happened in turn 3, the fall of 1861.
Okay, so over here in the east, nothing much has happened. They've just sort of been shadowing each other, except for Pope has made an incursion from West Virginia into Virginia itself, and has forced Johnston to sort of respond and pull back down towards the south. Over here in the west, the big news is the South has invaded Kentucky and not respected their neutrality, so they've joined the Union, and the other Johnston has made a march up north.
Quite towards, a strong one too, isn't he? He's on 7th strength. Yeah.
Up towards Indiana, and yep, that's what happening over here, with some Union forces having to respond. And the Battle of Springfield has finally been won. Curtis took Springfield and has moved down towards Fayetteville. And that's it.
And down south, the Union are probing all along the coast. And there are some troop build-ups in the Chesapeake Bay area, which the Confederates are a bit concerned about. So that's the state of play at the end of turn 3. Okay, it's just after 4 p.m. and we are at the end of turn 4, at the beginning of turn 5, and here's a situation report from General Grant.
Okay, so it's been very quiet in the east, really. There's been a bit of manoeuvring between Pope and Stuart's cavalry. And there have been some further sort of incursions, mostly around here. Wilmington, Burnside did an amphibious assault on the fort. So that sort of covers the east.
And you can tell it's the winter turn we're in, because you can see the shadows moving across the country.
That's right. So all the action really has been in Kentucky, some of the major action. We've had two pretty big armies, one led by Jackson, the other led by Johnston, who've made their way up through Kentucky, terrorizing the population and causing general havoc.
Taking Lexington and Frankfurt.
Trapping Grant and forcing his surrender. So he's had to run off. Luckily, he found a horse and he managed to get back to the Union lines. And then other than that, in Trans-Mississippi, it's finally the Union has prevailed and is now in control.
Heading down to Little Rock.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Hardy is down here regrouping and hopefully going to come up there and stem the Yankee tide. And down south, just a bit of a stalemate, but the Union forces are consolidating, and there's been a little bit of a push inland, which is a concern because Brunswick, is it? What's his name? Burnside has landed and is pushing up north a little bit. So that's going to have to be dealt with very quickly. So that's the situation at the end of turn 4. Okay, so we're about to start turn 6, but our hunger has got the better of us. We're both out foraging, and we're going to be heading back very shortly to carry on with the campaign. So I thought we'd take the opportunity to just quickly have a discussion about what we think of the game, and over to the chauffeur, Patrick here. What's your thoughts on the game, Patrick?
I guess, well, for a start, if for foraging we have, -1 MP and 1 shift left if somebody attacks us down the road here. So, I'm loving it. It's, I feel a lot more under pressure than I did in the first game. But we played a couple of rules wrong in the first game, especially to do with me being able to destroy Confederate build points before 63, so that's played into it. I've got a lot of sort of pots boiling that have things that I might be able to make pay off. So lots of Union forces around the coast that might be able to do things. But it's always the action phases, activations. You always wish you could do more. But it's a beautiful game. It's really interesting to look at.
I was saying to Patrick before we just popped in the car here, some aspects of the game remind me of No Retreat, the Russian Front, the GMT version. Just in that, you've got that relatively low counter density compared to the other war games. You've got a very slick and easy game mechanics. Movement's very, very simple. There's no really tricky terrain or anything. So the game is very easy to play from that perspective, but it's got a great it has great tactical dilemmas. So it just reminds me of, I think No Retreat, the Russian Front is a quality game, and I think this is really up there with it in terms of being a real classic.
The other thing I would say about it is it feels very unscripted. So you really have you're not forced down any path. You can do pretty much. There are many different things you can do and paths you can follow down. Whereas I think No Retreat's a little bit more scripted. There's a little bit more key points where they swing you in one direction or the other.
Yeah, I think if there was one thing about No Retreat, the Russian Front, and I know it's an unusual game to compare, being a World War II game, but that is quite, as Patrick said, quite a scripted game. And the only scripting in this game is really some of the generals being removed and like.
That would be the main bit of scripting, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And it's very minimal. And I'm not a great fan of scripting in war games, but I think it's very well done.
So one of the pleasures of it is discovering, given that it isn't scripted, is discovering what the valuable avenues of advance are and the valuable strategies are, and seeing how they equate to what happened historically. And you can see the advances down the Tennessee River and what's going on in the east and the similarities there. Looks like our fish and chip shop is shut.
Closed, okay.
Which means we need to go further afield.
No, we have to roll for attrition, actually.
That's right.
Anyway, we'll be back to the game shortly. Okay, we're at the end of turn 5, and here's another situation report from Patrick.
Okay, so over here in the east, we had Buell sortie with a significant force, but he got thoroughly defeated at Fredericksburg. Massive battle there, but he's sitting there. He hasn't been completely pushed off the field, but nothing else has really happened in the east. more activity along the coast with, Sumner having sortied out around Florida.
So that's a Union.
And Zygal over here, pushing out from Ship Island. He's got a control marker there.
And pushing in from here, but being held up by General Smith.
Yep. And then obviously, and again, Kentucky has been where a lot of the action has been going on. So the Confederates have been pushed back a little here by Grant's move again down the Cumberland River. And he came in behind them and took Nashville and then forced them to pull back to re-establish their supply lines, but not before A. Johnson did quite a bit of damage to, was it McDowell? There was a Union general here that got eliminated.
If it wasn't for Grant here distracting me, you would have been in a lot of trouble, because basically I cleaned out all your forces up there, but Grant got in amongst my supply lines and took Nashville. He really saved the day for the Unions there, but he has got a bit of an issue, haven't you? Because he's
currently out of supply, so he's going to have to do something about that. And he's surrounded by strong Confederate forces. Yeah. Okay, then over here in the Trans-Mississippi, Curtis's promenade down through Arkansas continues. He's captured Arkansas Post.
Confederate forces are massing there, but not in great strength.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the state of the play at the end of 2 and 5. So pretty even, do you think, Patrick, overall?
It's starting to feel a bit more even now. Before it's felt a lot more in your favour. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is the situation at the end of turn 6, beginning of turn 7, and it's been pretty active everywhere. So, Patrick, where you go?
Okay, so in the east, got Buell with a large force who over here was facing off against Fredericksburg, but Robert E. Lee made a foray up here to attack Pope at Harper's Ferry, and Buell responded by shifting eastwards and attacking Lee from the south, and Lee managed to escape through this rail bridge or rail tunnel through the mountains, and sort of managed just to survive, but it's been chased by Buell. Over in Kentucky, this is actually where the biggest part of the war has taken place during the whole game, but as you can see, all the Confederate control markers have been removed because Braggs has had to fall back to attack Sherman and Grant, who's been constantly harassing him in the rear. And meanwhile, a strong force out from Cairo sort of did river assaults along here, but eventually got pushed back. So there's been a lot of activity around that. And then over here in the Trans-Mississippi in Arkansas, a annoying little raiding Confederate force here got in behind Arkansas Post, putting a whole heap of Union forces out of supply. So they've been able to respond and cut them off, but I think they're in a worse off position than they are. So it's this was very well played by the Confederates. And
I managed to expel a Union force here down at I'm not sure how you pronounce it, Apalachiloka or something, with a few heavy losses. So that was a good little expedition in there. But otherwise, not too much has been happening. We've been having a lot of phases with very low initiatives, very low differentials. So we've been chopping through it pretty quickly. So just in the big picture, it's still all happening up the far north, and certainly north of Tennessee is about the level of where all the action is.
And VPs, 15 VPs for the Union.
Okay, so that's the end of turn 6. Looks like we've got time for one more turn, hopefully. Okay, so due to the late hour, we realise we actually can't get another turn in. I've got to head off and do my civic duty elsewhere. So we've gone through all our reinforcements for the start of turn 7 and strategic movement. And Patrick is going to record this on Vassal so we can reset this game up at a later stage and finish it off because it's so interesting. So just a recap of where we are now with all the reinforcements and strategic movements and leader management. Here in the east, we've got the two Confederate forces in these two positions, Fredericksburg and just outside of Staunton. But Lee here is at quite a bigger disadvantage in force numbers against, is that Buell?
Patrick? Yeah,
Buell. Double the forces in Buell's stack there, so that's a bit of a slight problem. Having said that, we've got Pemberton down here with a large 6 SPs who can quickly reinforce the northeast, I think. And not much really to report down here. A bit of a new incursion coming from Ship Island, but we'll deal with that one. All the action is here, so just recapping, after all our reinforcements and strategic movement, it's going to be critical who gets the initiative at the beginning of turn 7, because Grant is here, he's reinforced, and he's got how many in a stack?
12.
12 in a stack. I managed to get Hardy here with...
Both sides have been rushing their rail lines to that area.
7 to protect Bragg's rear, who's up between these two rivers here, and to stop Grant getting up and blocking him off. And we've got Polk with a small force guarding Bragg's left flank. So the critical thing here will be initiative at the beginning of the next turn. I'm hoping that I get it so I can join my forces up and then deal with each of these Union armies in detail a piece. And over in the Trans-Mississippi, Patrick is facing the threat of losing forces to attrition, and swung my way a little bit in the Trans-Mississippi. So how was that game? It's a day's gaming, Patrick. How was it?
Oh, it's very enjoyable, yeah. I really hope we can continue. The only frustrating thing about it is having to finish without a conclusion. But hopefully we've found a solution to that, so yeah.
We'd be interested to hear if any of you guys can manage to do a campaign in a day.
Yeah, I'd definitely be keen to hear from anyone who claims they can do that. Yep,
we'd be impressed to hear it. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, guys, and we're hoping down the track we can post the sequel, starting off from where this one left off.